Hey everyone, welcome back to the Health Mentor. I'm Dr. Mike, and today we're diving deep into something that literally controls your motivation, your focus, and even your happiness, dopamine. Most people think dopamine is just the feel-good chemical, but the truth is, it's way more powerful than that. It's the reason you check your phone 100 times a day, the reason you feel lazy after binge watching a show, and the same chemical that top athletes and successful people learn to control to stay driven. In this video, I'll explain the real science of dopamine, how modern life hijacks it, and most importantly, how you can rewire your brain to boost motivation, focus in long-term happiness. So grab your water, clear your mind, let's get started and train your brain naturally. Dumber Drenny's number one, what exactly is dopamine? Let's start with something most people get wrong. Dopamine isn't just about pleasure. It's not the feel-good chemical people think it is. It's actually the motivation molecule, the reason you get out of bed, chase your goals, or check your phone oozers times a day. Dopamine's real job isn't to make you happy. It's job number two, how modern life hijacks your dopamine system, Let's be honest, we live in a world designed to steal your focus. Every beep, scroll, and notification is carefully engineered to trigger one thing, asterisk dop. Number three, the Dober three. Number the dopamine detox, resetting your braino. Let's face it, we all love instant gratification. Checking our phones, eating junk food, binge watching shows, they all give us small, quick hits of dopamine. It feels good in the moment, but here's the problem. Your brain wasn't built for constant pleasure. Dopamine was designed for survival. Through thousands of years ago, it rewarded humans for hunting, exploring, learning, and bonding, all slow, meaningful tasks. But today, that same system is being hijacked by modern habits that flood your brain with artificial dopamine spikes way more than nature ever intended. The result, your brain's dopamine receptors start to numb out. Just like overusing headphones makes you deaf to sound, overstimulation makes you deaf to motivation. That's why normal things like reading, studying, or working out suddenly feel boring. Your brain isn't broken. It's just overstimulated. This is where the dopamine detox comes in and not a ceasing. And no, it's not about quitting pleasure or living like a monk. It's about giving your brain space to reset its sensitivity. When you cut back on high dopamine activities like endless scrolling, sugar, or gaming, your dopamine levels begin to rebalance. Think of it like rebooting a computer that's frozen from too many apps running. Once the overload clears, your system starts running smoothly again. During a, during a dopamine detox, the first few days can feel uncomfortable, even dull. That's because your brain's reward system is recalibrating. But as you stay consistent, something powerful happens. You start to feel motivated again from simple, meaningful things like completing a workout, learning a skill, or having a deep conversation. This process is backed by neuroscience. Studies show that reducing overstimulation restores dopamine receptor sensitivity, which means you experience more pleasure from less stimulation. You begin to feel satisfied by progress instead of distraction. Here's a simple way to start your own dopamine reset. Pick one high dopamine habit like social media, sugar, or gaming, or by a minute, take an artistic hour or weekend break from it. San Mertz replace it with a low dopamine but rewarding activity, walking, reading, meditating, or journaling. See CRSUN's meals that track how your focus and motivation change over a week. Now, you'll notice your brain starts craving growth instead of dopamine hits. You'll feel more grounded, more focused, and more alive. Because when you detox your dopamine, you don't lose pleasure, you rediscover it in the things that truly matter. Number four, habits that boost healthy dopamine naturally. Here's the truth. You don't need pills, sugar, or social media to feel motivated. Your body already has everything it needs to produce dopamine naturally. You just have to turn the right switches on. Dopamine isn't about chasing highs. It's about creating balance. When you adopt habits that raise dopamine in a healthy, controlled way, your brain starts to reward you for growth instead of distraction. Let's break down the five most powerful science-backed habits to boost dopamine. Number five, rewiring for focus, drive, and discipline. Let's be real, staying focused and disciplined isn't about luck or genetics. Okay, it's about how your brain's dopamine system is wired. And most people fail to stay consistent, not because they're lazy, but because their brain is addicted to short-term dopamine hits instead of long-term rewards. Every scroll, notification, and sugary snack trains your brain to expect quick pleasure. So when it's time to work, study, or exercise, your brain resists because real progress gives slow dopamine. But here's the truth. You can rewire your brain to crave discipline just as much as it used to crave distraction. Let's talk about how you journed a step. Build a dopamine reward loop around growth, right? Your brain releases dopamine not when you achieve a goal, But when you pursue it, that's called anticipatory dopamine. When you track your progress, whether it's workouts, reading, or learning, you trigger tiny dopamine hits that keep you motivated. So instead of waiting for big wins, celebrate micro wins daily. Your brain learns hard work feels good. Reading step R, replace instant gratification with intentional effort. You can't remove dopamine triggers from life, but you can redirect them. Again, every time you get the urge to scroll, pause, and do a small productive task, instead stretch, right, or clean something. By linking small effort with reward, you rewire your circuits for focus. This is called dopamine redirection. You're not fighting the habit, you're retraining it. Praction steps and practice controlled discomfort. Discipline grows through strategic stress. Cold showers, workouts, fasting, or learning something hard all create mild, healthy stress that builds mental resilience. Your brain starts to associate effort with satisfaction instead of resistance. Remember, the more discomfort you train through, the stronger your dopamine control becomes. Mjøn djupi stofers mindiustat minnerse premimen stepper cure step depper frien stepper. Create a consistent reward schedule. Don't let rewards be random. Don't let rewards be random. Give yourself earned dopamine. Cat, watch a show, scroll your phone, or enjoy a treat, but only after completing a task. This structured approach helps your brain connect discipline, product, reward, which builds long-term consistency. Ring step, woo, the long-term rewire. From pleasure to purpose, when you keep repeating this cycle, growth, reward, your brain literally rebuilds its dopamine pathways. Again, neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to adapt and reprogram itself. Over time, things that once felt boring start feeling rewarding. That's when you stop relying on motivation and start living through momentum. Rewiring